Be Different Podcast, March 13, 2018. It's NCAA tournament time, so the Be Different Podcast, of course, is talking college basketball. Remember, before you listen to this, follow Be Different Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and don't spell it Be Different like usual. We talked about it earlier, but BeDFRNT. Do not get confused. Today we have Leonard Stokes, per usual, a UC legend, a guy that has to be excited about the Bearcats being a 2 seed. But before we talk about NCAA tournament, I want to go back quickly to the American tournament. UC came out on top. In the first round, they beat SMU 65-51. They followed that up by beating Memphis and Tubby Smith 70-60. And then the championship game on Sunday, which was the last championship game of championship week, UC won that 56-55 over a really good Houston team. I mean, we even saw Coach Cronin. He had a cigar after the game in the locker. I mean, it was a special sight. It was nice to see Coach Cronin kind of relax and have a little bit of fun. But, Leonard, what do you take away from the American tournament?
Competitive tournament. I mean, Wichita State and Houston, great game. Houston obviously won that. Then the championship was a good game. So the tournament was pretty competitive from the teams that we would have expected it.
Rob Gray turns the ball over with 5 seconds left on the clock. One of the better players, honestly, one of the better players in the country, obviously one of the best players in the American, throws the ball out of bounds with 5 seconds left. Houston does not come up with that victory, and Gary Clark, player of the year in the American, player of the year in the tournament as well. Gary Clark, what has he meant to this team, especially of late?
I think Gary's probably had the best senior season probably since Kenyon Martin. I mean,
he's been great.
Gary's racked up some hardware. I mean, he's sportsmanship of the year for the conference, defensive player, MVP, first team all league, and conference MVP. I mean, that is extremely huge. And I'm just proud of him, man. He's a good kid and he's worked really hard. He's had a solid, stellar career at UC, man. So
Gary Clark continues to rack up awards, and then now. It was a quick turnaround because within about an hour of that game ending, the selection show happened. So they stayed in Orlando to watch that. UC, a 2 seed. I mean, in years past, UC has had a terrible seeding. They've had bad matchups. This year it looks to be a little bit different. Second round game in Nashville could be challenging, but overall, UC getting a 2 seed, did you feel like that was where they should have been?
Yeah, definitely 100%. Feel as if that's where we should have been. I was a little nervous, due to the history of the selection committee with us over at UC, but all in all, great draw at the 2 seed for us, I think.
And you will be in Nashville. Have you spent time in Nashville before?
Yeah, so we actually played my freshman year. We lost in Nashville to Tulsa. That was when the first game off Kenyon getting hurt. So spent time there for that, and then a couple other occasions in Nashville that were
other occasions.
Non-basketball.
Can you elaborate?
Related.
Yeah, non-basketball related. So I'm going to Nashville on Friday. I'm leaving. I'm doing a half day. I'm leaving at 12 o'clock. I'm heading there, so I'm not going to be able to watch the initial game with Georgia State. But we'll have to catch up when we're in Nashville. Are you staying all day Saturday as well after the games?
Yeah, all day Saturday and then Sunday. I'm probably going to come back. I'm booked through until Monday morning, so I'm probably going to get up Monday morning and drive back. That's
going to be a great scene to have. UC fans, Xavier fans. So will you be rooting for Xavier as well? Will you be pulling for the Musketeers?
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be pulling for the Bearcats for sure.
I hope this is one of those things where
you just you have
all
to.
In the same
absolutely.
Place, and let's all just get along and root for each other.
I saw a tweet from John Schroeder, a friend of mine, guy who went to Xavier. And he said Xavier and UC fans in Nashville on Saturday. What could possibly go wrong? We have everybody together, but I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be all right. I can't wait till Sunday after Xavier wins their first round matchup, UC wins their first round matchup, and then we get the chance to watch UC and Xavier go to the Sweet 16 in the same place. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty epic. Right?
How far are the Bearcats going to go? How far do I put them in my bracket?
UC guy, so I'm going UC all the way.
UC national championship.
Pretty biased. I'm pretty biased.
Leonard Stokes says UC is the national champion, and I want to take a look at these brackets. We're going to open up to what we call Be Different Bracketology. This is a first-time occasion, considering this is the first time that we've done the podcast while the NCAA tournament brackets come out. So we're going to talk about some spoilers. We're going to talk about some upsets. We're also going to talk about who everybody has in their Final Four. Leonard, I know you're still working through the bracket a little bit over there, but Greg Wichard, Nick Given across the street from me, they have been detailing and organizing exactly who's going to play who's going to reach the Final Four, and they're going to know. We're going to figure out who has the best bracket, obviously, when it's all said and done. But Nick Given and Greg Wichard, are you guys prepared to speak on your bracket, to talk about wins, to talk about upsets, to talk about people crying, talk about people smiling? Are we okay?
We're ready. We've done thousands of brackets already. So
do we want to start with upsets, or do you want to start with the Final Four? Should we go upsets in the first round?
Upsets in the first round? We can do that, sure.
We'll go upsets in the first round. We're going to start with the South region. The South region has Virginia as the number 1 seed, Cincinnati as the 2 seed. In that first round, I see Loyola Chicago over Miami, Florida. Loyola's 28-5. It's their first appearance in the NCAA tournament since 1985. They were winners of the Missouri Valley Conference. They are currently top 30 in the RPI. They have a handful of guys that can really play. They have the Defensive Player of the Year in the Missouri Valley. They have a non-conference win over Florida. I think Miami at times has overachieved this year. They do not have a go-to guy. So me personally, I like that Loyola Chicago over Miami, Florida in that first round in the East.
I'll give you that.
Will you give me Loyola Chicago?
I can give you that pretty easily.
You backed it up pretty well, I think.
And then
I
you
think I'll
got,
give it to you.
I'm going to come in hot on these upsets. I'm just going to let you know I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in hot right now.
The Texas-Nevada game's really good. I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of a coin flip.
Which one is that?
The Texas-Nevada game.
I'm going with Texas in that one.
And a lot of people are going to pick Davidson over Kentucky, which I think is a very unwise move.
Yeah, you could do the Davidson over Kentucky. That 5-12 matchup is always a little bit of a hot topic. Texas over Nevada, probably a little bit of a toss-up game. If I'm UC, though, I think I want to see Texas win that game, the way that Nevada plays offensively, how efficient that they are. But that will be no easy task for UC when they work past Georgia State. Getting Texas or Nevada, that'll be a challenging game to reach the Sweet 16. So we got Davidson possibly over Kentucky.
Nope.
My big upset pick, Loyola Chicago over Miami, Florida. Love to see Loyola Chicago take down Miami, Florida, the 6th seed.
I think I agree with you on that one. But Kentucky is playing.
They're playing well right now.
They're playing great D right now.
And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, a point guard, he's playing like a star right now.
I'm just still a little pissed about the 4-5 with Arizona. Not happy. I would rather play any other 4 seed than Arizona.
Arizona's playing well. DeAndre Ayton,
He's a monster.
arguably will be player of the year nationally
He's a monster.
as well. Pac-12 player of the year, freshman of the year,
He's definitely going to be the
tournament
number 1
MVP.
pick. He's going to be the number 1 pick.
$100,000.
And only $100,000 for DeAndre Ayton for how
Not
important
enough.
of a player that he is.
It's crap.
DeAndre Ayton has the widest shoulders of any basketball player that I've ever seen. I mean, that dude is built.
It's like if Dwight Howard went to college.
He will be
He's good.
an NBA Hall of Famer when it's all said and done.
All right,
as
Scott.
long as he stays healthy, that is an incredible talent. I mean, one of the best players we've seen at the college level. Let's move down to the West region where the Xavier Musketeers are the number 1 seed. North Carolina is the 2 seed. Your 3 seed are the Michigan Wolverines. 4 seed, Gonzaga. Upset pick in the first round. I have South Dakota State versus Ohio State. Spread on that game, Ohio State is favored by 8.5. But South Dakota State, 28-6. They attempted the 6th most three-pointers in college basketball this year, and they shoot over 40% as a team from the three-point line. They are also 2nd in the nation in rebounds. They do not give up second-chance points. Mike Dahm, 2-time Summit League Player of the Year. Guy averages over 23 points per game. They also have Freshman of the Year in the Summit League as well. That is David Jenkins, averaging over 16 points per game. I like South Dakota State, and Ohio State has been struggling as of late, not playing very well. January was a great month for Ohio State. The beginning of the Big Ten season, they were fantastic, but they've really struggled down the stretch. I like the way South Dakota State can spread out the Buckeyes. I mean, if you got Andrew Dockage playing 20 minutes in a game, I'm going to go with the upset. South Dakota State, Even though they're plus 8.5 right now, I like them to pull it out in that 5-12 matchup.
I would definitely take the points.
Yeah, I would definitely take the
Definitely
points.
take the
It's a
points.
great game to bet on. I mean, if you're looking for a solid bet,
I mean, my God.
I would take South
I'm
Dakota
taking
State
the
in that
points.
game. And they were in the tournament last year. This is a tournament team. And Mike Dom, he's 6'9". He's a really tough matchup. I mean, he's going to put up 25 points in that game.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's overrated. I don't think they're that good.
Yeah, they overachieved. They overachieved.
Yeah, they peaked pretty early in the middle of the season, but they've been in the tank lately.
San Diego State over Houston's a good one, too.
Some of these seeds, after I watched the UC and the Xavier kind of get where they needed to be, I didn't really pay attention and then look, and I'm just some of this stuff is I don't know how some of these seedings happen. I don't know how Oklahoma even made it to the tournament.
They should have.
Well, considering Oklahoma State was on the bubble with Oklahoma and
Beat 'em
State beat them twice, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yep.
How does that happen?
Trey Young sells tickets. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. And I'm actually super excited.
Did you
I knew you were happy about
did you see
Obviously,
Trey?
I'm excited about
Did you
it.
see Trey Young's reaction when they got in the tournament? It was very intense. Everyone else just jumped up, and Trey's just clenching his fist, just
Which is
staring at the
scary.
ground. Just,
Yeah, he's an excited guy. But seeing Trey Young in the NCAA tournament, I'm going to be glued to the TV watching Trey Young the way that he plays.
Well, what was going through his head was, I get 30 more attempts, baby.
yeah. 30 more.
And he deserves them, too. He absolutely deserves them. We got any more upset picks in the West region you guys like?
I think a small one could be Providence over Texas A&M, and
Yeah, that's fair.
Not too big of an upset, but
Still an upset, though, 10 over 7.
Yeah, I would say that would be my. I took Ohio State, so I would say Providence is really my only upset.
What
in that
about any
bracket.
upset picks going into the Sweet 16? You guys like anybody there?
Into the Sweet 16? I've got Ohio State over Gonzaga. That would be my really only big upset pick.
That'd be an upset.
I have Gonzaga. I don't have Ohio State.
The only one I have is Houston over Michigan.
Houston over
I
Michigan.
think Michigan winning 4 games in the Big Ten tournament in the span of 4 days. They did the same thing last year, made it to the Sweet 16. I think Houston has a lot to prove. I think the 3 teams in the American between Houston, UC, and Wichita State are all really good. And as much as people around the country are talking poorly about the American, I think those 3 teams will really want to go out there and play well. Because those 3 teams are all very, very good. And I like Rob Gray. I think they'll actually match up relatively well with Michigan, so I'll take Houston in the Sweet 16. Let's move on to the East Bracket. East Bracket, Villanova is your 1 seed. Purdue is your 2 seed. Wichita State, your 4. Texas Tech is your 3 seed. I didn't have a great upset pick in this one, and I ended up picking the 10 over the 7. That's Butler over Arkansas. I honestly haven't seen a ton of Arkansas this year. I watched a lot of Butler, and I just think Keelan Martin and Kamar Baldwin will be able to get it done. I mean, Keelan Martin, a senior, he's one of the best players in the country. I expect him to have a great game, and I love Kamar Baldwin, the young point guard for Butler. So I'll take Butler over Arkansas in that first round. You guys got another upset pick. I think there's a couple that you could go with in this first round. I just didn't have enough strength. I didn't have enough gumption to go ahead and make that call.
Gumption, man.
In one of my brackets, I have Arkansas over Purdue.
You like the gumption line?
I filled out a bracket yesterday. I have Arkansas over Purdue. Their guard play is really good. I watched that
So
SEC.
you love Arkansas because you're
they-
more of an SEC guy.
Yeah, they have really good guard
I'm more
play.
of a Big 10 or
Great
Big
guard
12
play.
watcher.
Yeah, they
But
play really good in the backcourt or in the front court backcourt, and I just think that they can get hot for 2 games and beat anybody.
So that would be Arkansas over
That's just-
Butler,
and
and
I just
then
think that
Arkansas over Purdue.
Purdue's guard play
and I'm a
isn't
Big
that
Ten
strong.
hater. I'm a huge Big Ten hater as far as like how talented that whole conference is. So
I'm high on Purdue right now, and I
That's fair.
hate that I am, but I'm high on
Don't you have them in
Purdue.
your Final
Purdue
Four?
will fall asleep at the wheel, man. Like the games that they've lost, they should not have lost those games, man.
I just
They
feel
got
like
2 big-
Purdue has a lot to prove too. Like they haven't played well in the NCAA tournament under Coach Painter. They got 4 seniors. They got a young guard, and Edwards is really good.
I have Florida in the Elite 8 up there.
Yeah, I've got Florida in the Sweet 16. I've got them losing to Purdue, but I mean, Purdue is 3-4 versus top 25 teams this year. Florida's 5-4 versus top 25 teams this year. I mean, they're a good team.
And Chioza is a star, their point guard.
Yeah.
There was 2 I almost took upset picks. I almost took the 5-12 game, Murray State over West Virginia.
I feel like that's a trap game for them.
Murray State has a really good guard, Jonathan Starks. Jonathan Starks can really play. I think he'll be able to break that press. He averages almost 25 a game. He's a guy who could give West Virginia some trouble. Ultimately, though, I felt like Javon Carter would do enough to pass them through. The other one that'll be interesting is Stephen F. Austin and Texas Tech. That game is in Dallas. Stephen F. Austin has been to the tournament a handful of times over the last 10 years. They do it on both ends, and they really pressure you defensively, get in the passing lanes, but I could not do it. So my only upset pick in the first round, unfortunately, was Butler over Arkansas.
Texas Tech is pretty good, though.
Texas Tech is a nice team.
I like Texas Tech.
And then let's move to the Midwest bracket. Last time for our upset picks in the first round. Kansas is your 1 seed. Duke is your 2 seed. Michigan State is your 3. And then Auburn is your 4 seed. In this one, I took the 5-12 matchup, New Mexico State over Clemson. New Mexico State's been to 6 tournaments since 2010. Last year, they lost to Baylor. They are led by Zach Lofton, as well, who is a transfer from Texas Southern, shoots about 40% from 3, averages 20 points per game. Clemson has lost 5 of their last 7. It's their first tournament since 2011. They lost their power forward, Dante Graham, a few weeks ago. They do return their point guard, Mitchell, who was out with a concussion, but I think doubt is starting to set in for Clemson. New Mexico State has been to the tournament. They've been knocking on the door for a number of years. They have not been able to come up with that NCAA tournament win. I think New Mexico State beats Clemson, and I think New Mexico State wins their next game and moves to the Sweet 16. They are one of my Cinderellas, so I'll take New Mexico State as my sleeper team to the Sweet 16 in the Midwest bracket.
That's kind of scary, That team, 64% from the free throw line. I don't know. It comes down to it.
It all depends on who gets to the free throw line.
That's true. That's true.
You got to get there to shoot the 64%. Huh?
I'm actually interested in the ASU versus Syracuse.
Yeah, me too.
Because it wouldn't surprise me if they stole one against TCU.
So I actually have ASU, and whoever wins that game, I think Arizona State. Beats Syracuse and then beats TCU.
Yep, I agree.
And then they both lose to Michigan State.
They didn't give out any suspensions in the for Arizona State. Did you see Holder?
No.
Oh man, they were getting beat by in their conference tournament.
Colorado.
They were down 8, and there's like 5 seconds left. The guy throws the lob, and he just tackled the guy.
Oh really?
Yeah, they ejected him. You're out of here.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not see that.
You guys had a little scuffle there after one of the.
That was not the Xavier guys, though.
Who was it?
Bashir Ahmed. I mean, they were involved in the scuffle, but Bashir Ahmed started talking to the Xavier guys in the line. Man,
well, he wouldn't shake any of their hands.
I think it was the same thing though, where somebody dunked the ball.
Well, that's the thing that was weird. There were 5 seconds left in the game, and he dunked that there was 1 second left on the shot clock.
Correct.
So it's like, yeah, I guess you could just give them the ball back, but.
Dunk it.
Just dunk it. It's Sean O'Mara. Let him dunk it a little bit. And then you go up to the locker room and start knocking on the door afterwards. It's just.
Have you ever? Yeah, he did. They went back at the Garden. They went back in the locker room and then tried to knock on.
They tried to get in Xavier's locker room
to get in with some of the players.
They're probably just gonna get
that
high fives and
happened.
stuff.
Yeah, take them some Starbucks or something.
Yeah.
Just
apologizing.
Relax.
They were gonna go apologize. I'm sure.
I don't know what St. John's was thinking. They weren't going to win the Big East tournament anyways.
No.
I mean, if they got past Xavier, they still got to play Providence and they got to play Villanova. There's no way St. John's wins 4 games in 4 days. They don't have enough talent.
Yeah, I agree.
Guys definitely wanted to win the fight, though, I guess, huh?
Right. Yeah, oh yeah.
Final Four, what are we thinking?
All right, so we're going to Final Four now? We got to set this up. You just can't just throw out Final Four. Final Four, here we go.
Get back on topic.
We're done with our upset picks. We're done with the first round. We're talking about who is getting to the Final Four Be Different Bracketology. And I'm going to keep saying it, but make sure you follow the Be Different podcast, BeDFRNT, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We will be giving you videos, podcasts all week. But we're going to move on to our Final Four. Does anybody want to go first? Does anybody want to make their case for their 4 Final Four teams? I kind of want Greg Wichard to start.
Okay.
I feel like he's very confident in the teams that he has right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to write these down.
Okay.
And Greg, I want you to go ahead. I want you to make your case for your Final Four.
All right, we'll start in the South. I have Virginia. I think you lose 2 games all year, and you just roll through the ACC tournament. I know people say they don't have a lot of firepower, but in the ACC, when you're only allowing 52 points per game, you don't have to have a ton of firepower. You just have to hold them under 52 points per game. So I'm going with Virginia in the South. I got North Carolina beating
over your Musketeers.
Over the Muskies.
Wow.
Over the Muskies. I think Xavier gets to the Elite Eight, but can't crack North Carolina to the Final Four.
All right.
Villanova, because watching Big East basketball all year, I do not see a more complete team offensively for sure in the nation. And then I guess it would be my biggest upset pick would be in the Midwest. I got Michigan State in the Midwest, and I just 29-4 for the year. Big Ten's a tough conference. They played pretty well. I think 2 of their losses were to Michigan, correct?
Mm-hmm.
They lost
That's
twice
true.
to Michigan.
Yep.
And they had some pretty good wins in the beginning of the year. So I think, they get to the Final Four also.
All right, so Greg has Virginia, North Carolina, Villanova, Michigan State. Nick Given, what is your Final Four?
So I just had to change one because I can't have.
You just changed?
Yeah,
you just changed one.
But I refuse to have the same Final Four as him.
You had the same Final Four?
I had the same Final Four. So
were you cheating off of his
The
bracket?
guys are sitting next to each other. They're right there.
All right, Nick, go ahead.
well, the only reason is because I think Virginia will get out. I think that's the easiest bracket overall, especially for a team that plays D like them. I could see Arizona getting to the Final Four, but I'm going to pick Virginia. Coming down, I would love to see the Muskies get there, but I think either U of M or UNC will get them. So I put UNC.
Okay.
Villanova is going to win the national championship, so I'll have Villanova in the Final Four.
Okay.
And then I had Michigan State, but now, because I think whoever comes out of there comes down to MSU and Duke, in my opinion. And I was pretty high on Duke all year, so I'm going to put Duke in the Final Four.
No defense, Duke. Okay.
Yep.
Are you kidding
Fair
me?
enough.
Didn't you see Grayson Allen's defense? He stuck his butt out and
They played no defense at all.
And checked that guy.
They run a ridiculous zone.
I think it will be Michigan State, but I can't pick the same thing as him. So.
Okay. All right, Nick Given has Virginia, UNC, Nova, and Duke. The only difference between him and Greg Richard is the Midwest bracket, where Nick has Duke, Greg has Michigan State. We now go on to Leonard Stokes. I'm curious to see if he has the Bearcats coming out of the South.
Oh, definitely. So we don't have. I'm going Bearcats beating Virginia. In my opinion, that'll be.
How could they can never score enough points to beat Virginia?
Virginia barely scores points.
Oh my God!
So that game.
Hey,
will
we
be,
let you give your Final Four. Would you
yeah.
let Leonard
That game will be
give you his Final Four, Nick?
that game will be-
Are you going to be that guy today?
48-44. You see, 48-44.
48 to 44.
48-44 UC over Virginia in the Elite Eight.
Okay, that makes more sense again.
Then after that, I would love to see actually UC and Xavier match
That'd
up.
be
that would be.
So you got Xavier in the Final Four.
I actually don't, but
okay.
I would love to see that. For all my
That would be
Xavier fans out there, I would love
insane.
to see that. But I'm gonna go with North Carolina, Villanova over in the East, and then Michigan State in the Midwest.
I like it. So Leonard Stokes has UC out of the South, North Carolina in the West, Villanova out of the East, Michigan State out of the Midwest. Now it's time for my Final Four. And I feel very excited about my Final Four. I really do. I really do. And I have a lot of differences in you guys. We're going to start with the South. Out of the South bracket, I have the Arizona Wildcats, Sean Miller, DeAndre Ayton, coming out of the South bracket over Virginia in the Sweet 16 and over Leonard, your UC Bearcats in the Elite Eight. But I have UC all the way in the Elite Eight. Arizona right now, DeAndre Ayton is playing like the best player in college basketball right now. I think he'll be able to get it done. Riley Atkins, Alonzo Trier, they will do enough to move Sean Miller to his first Final Four. And there was a lot of bad press of the Wildcats this year. These guys have been through a lot together. I think they're a battle-tested team coming together at the right time. Out of the West.
Can I ask you?
Go ahead, Greg.
I just want to ask you one question. How many top 20 to 25 teams does Arizona beat this year? Do you know? I'm just asking you, because I'll let you know. They are 0-1 against top 25 teams this year. So battle tested. Let's pump the brakes on battle tested.
It's not just what goes on the court.
It's the money off the court.
What scandals have they been through off the court?
true.
And they're still winning games.
That's
They're
true.
still winning championships.
Arizona's
Greg.
getting paid the most, so they might win the most.
No,
You're-
I think,
there we go.
I think Arizona though, because when you do have controversy like that, the guys do normally tend to.
I'm sure there's a
rally
huge
and stick
chip.
together.
They seem to be. They're rallying around a little bit. They are.
Around that 7-foot monster.
Yeah, he is
I mean, they have a tough road, but if Arizona is able to get past Kentucky, if Kentucky gets past Davidson, I think they got a lot of confidence going into that game against Virginia.
That'll be a great game.
And the way that Ayton rebounds the basketball, he can shoot the basketball. I mean, I think he gives you 30 and 15 in that game in the Sweet 16 against Virginia, and I think he propels Sean Miller to the Final Four for his first time. That would set up a matchup in the West with Sean Miller's former team, the Xavier Musketeers. I like Xavier moving to the Final Four. They'll take care of business in the first round. If they get Missouri, Michael Porter is not all the way healthy. They move to the Sweet 16. You then play Gonzaga. Gonzaga, as good as they've been, they've really had Xavier's number, but they're not as talented as what they were last year when they made it to the national championship game. And then what you get a matchup with Xavier, Carolina in the Elite Eight. And you go against Joel Berry, you go against Luke May. I mean, Xavier, you'll have the opportunity to take down a team of national power in North Carolina. I like Arizona and Xavier to be matched up on the south and the west side there. And then we're going to move on to the east and the Midwest. And guys, I got a couple of Big Ten teams here. And my first one in the East, and I know people aren't going to like this one. This team has a lot to prove. They have senior leadership. They have a big guy in Isaac Haas. They got a great point guard in Edwards. I like the Purdue Boilermakers coming out of the East to take down Villanova in the Elite Eight. Coach Painter gets to the Final Four. And then in the Midwest bracket, I love what Michigan State has. They have NBA talent. They have Jackson. They got Bridges, Cassius Winston at the point guard position. I see a matchup of Big Ten teams, Michigan State and Purdue on that side. So that's all I got. That's it. Arizona, Xavier, Purdue, Michigan State are my Final Four. Are you going to test me on the Big Ten teams or no?
I'm just going to let you go.
You're going to let me go?
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah.
I know that you guys are not high on Purdue.
I'm not high. on
Not
Purdue.
not very high.
I do think that Michigan State will probably get there though.
Yeah, let's.
They probably should have been a 2 seed.
Well, this will be interesting. So what's our bet here, guys? What are we betting on this?
I don't know. Leonard's still supposed to be wearing your jersey, you know. So
That's
Oh, that's true. I still got to get
I do owe you on that one. I owe you on that one, man.
my dream scenario though. How great would it be though if UC Xavier played? in
Yeah,
the
that would be
Final Four?
awesome.
That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing.
Greg said that if UC won that game, I already asked him this question. They said he'd never leave his house again, or he'd lose a lot of friends as well.
I would just never talk to any of my friends again.
Man.
I mean, I got like 2 Xavier friends and 50 UC friends. So when we gather,
You already know.
it's like I'm getting bullets fired at me all the time, and I just can't defend myself. So I'm gonna have to do some avoiding.
Yeah,
But-
I watched the Big East game against Providence at Holy Grail, and there were not a lot of Xavier fans in that place. Maybe everyone went to the tournament, but there weren't a lot of people.
That's probably what it was. I'm sure that's what it was. I'm sure that's what it was. Well, I'm looking forward to the NCAA tournament starting. I have all the Final Four picks in order so we can make sure that we can look back and we can determine who was correct, who best figured out who was in the Final Four.
Man, you're making that harder than.
Why am I making this really difficult right now?
I don't
What was the
know.
other word you just used? A great word. before
gumption?
that.
Gumption, yeah.
Gumption was
Oh, you
really
should,
No scholar who can pronounce gumption.
Gumption was really well. I mean, I didn't know I was going to get that word in.
Revamp at Braxton. You should throw that out there.
Yeah, so we will be going over the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament on Monday, this coming Monday at Braxton Brewery in Covington. The Be Different podcast will be live with Bobby Regan of Barstool Sports. That will be 7 o'clock on Monday. Make sure that you are there. We will be doing a live show where we're going to give out prizes. There'll be a Pop-A-Shot. You can take us on in Pop-A-Shot, and we'll take you from the Sweet 16 all the way to the Final Four. So we'll have a little bit more of our bracket filled out at that time, but that is Braxton's revamp event. It is on Facebook right now, and be sure to follow the Be Different podcast everywhere else. But we appreciate your time. We appreciate you listening. As for Greg Witchard, Nick Given, and Leonard Stokes, I am Brad Redford, and this is the Be Different podcast signing off.